Senator from Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise today in support of the House-passed Homeland Security Appropriations Bill, a bill which is not just about whether we should fund the Department of Homeland Security to carry out the very important work of protecting our nation, but whether we will provide amnesty to those here illegally. Now, first, let's establish the Constitution says that Congress has authority over our immigration and naturalization laws. The President does not have the authority to waive legal requirements. The Supreme Court has upheld this on numerous occasions. The President has admitted more than 20 times that he does not have this authority. That said, now his administration is attempting to block the ruling of the judge recently made in Texas and protect his amnesty plan. As has been reported in the papers, Judge Hannon in Texas has put an injunction against proceeding with the President's amnesty bill. It's reported that the Department of Homeland Security, at the President's direction, is moving forward with plans to seal large contracts with companies to process deferred action applications for millions of illegal immigrants as soon as possible. Mr. President, American families have seen President Obama rewrite the laws many times, and the outcomes of the recent elections show that they do not support President Obama's executive overreach. The President intends to grant amnesty to 5 million people. This will not be done on a case-by-case basis, as the law suggests it should be. It's going to be a rubber stamp. A rubber stamp at the expense of those who are illegally attempting to come to our country. And it will take longer for those who are attempting to come legally to gain admittance under the law. I support the efforts of those coming to the United States to make a better life for themselves and their family. We all believe in immigration. We just think immigration should be legal. The President has rewritten the law to allow illegal immigrants the ability to receive work permits and driver's license, which also includes receiving a Social Security number. After a certain period of time, they'll be eligible for Social Security. This goes far beyond his legal authority. By the way, many of my Democratic colleagues have expressed concerns about the President's action, whether or not he had the constitutional authority to take the action he has. Clearly, he does not. While the President says this legal status is temporary, the reality is, once work permits have been issued, Social Security cards given, folks will be allowed to stay. They will not be deemed a priority for removal. On top of that, temporary status may be renewed. In 2011, the President took executive action for the Department of Homeland Security to start prioritizing illegal immigrants for removal. In April 2014, several months before he took his most recent action, the Los Angeles Times quoted former ICE Director John Sandwig in an article where he said, "If you're a run-of-the-mill immigrant here illegally, your odds of getting deported are close to zero." The Associated Press reported in September 2014 that the Department of Homeland Security admitted to a group of immigrant advocates during a confidential meeting that about 70% of illegal immigrants traveling as families failed to report back to ICE as ordered after they were released at the border. Mr. President, a few weeks ago, Louisiana school administrators and I met. They expressed concern about how the President's immigration policies have stressed our school systems. Classroom sizes have grown. There are associated costs to hire more teachers, buy textbooks, with required resources to educate these students, all having grown. President Obama has given executive amnesty to suit his agenda, but is stretching limited local and state resources, and by stretching them, making it tougher on Americans who were born here. Again, the administration says that only 5 million people will be impacted by the President's executive order. Reality is, with numerous options for illegal immigrants to remain in this country, people are going to hear about it. They will attempt to come. This will be a magnet for others to come illegally. Now, illegal behavior is being rewarded. If the President's supporters feel compelled to continue blocking the funding bill, it must be clear that they feel that executive amnesty is legal regardless of how the courts have ruled. And it is clear they believe that protecting the President's illegal action is more important than providing our men and women with the resources to protect our border. We must fund the Department of Homeland Security. As I've said, many of my colleagues who expressed serious concern with the President's executive actions in November are now voting to protect these actions. It is unfortunate they have voted 4 times to prevent this bill, the Homeland Security funding bill, from coming up for debate. They won't even allow debate. Folks say they want funding of the Homeland Security Department, but they won't allow debate. Mr. President, this is unconscionable. I believe it's important that we move forward to avoid a shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. I urge my colleagues to please stop blocking this important legislation that we must pass to protect our country and to give the men and women at Homeland Security the resources they need, and most importantly, to protect the Constitution. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.